Hey guys, I'm back with another video. I'm going to draw Luca from Disney Pixar's movie Luca. For more videos like this one, please subscribe and check out my other videos. Alright, so to get it started, you draw an oval first, and I put a line down the middle to show the middle of his face. Right now I'm doing the jawline. You'll see me adjust it a few times to get it how I want to get it. When you do digital art, it's just so much easier to edit things and to move things around, so just bear with me. So that dot in the middle will be where his nose is. Just sketch it out until you get it the way you need it to get. The jaw, I'm gonna adjust it so it could be more like a half circle almost. Right now it looks kind of boxy. And I'm also going to draw in his eyes. They're circles, obviously. And make sure you make the circles big enough because you'll put in the iris and the pupil also. And I'll also adjust the eyes to make them more far apart also. If you need to adjust, you just click the select tool and I put mine on freeform so it won't be all uniform when I move the pinpoints around. I wanted to make it wider because he has a wide head. Here, I'm going to adjust the eyes like I said earlier. Bring them down more and make them way bigger than how I had them. How many of you have seen this movie yet? I have not seen it yet. If you have watched it, let me know how it is in the comments, but just don't spoil it. Let me know if you liked it or not. Also, I'm still new to this whole tutorial thing, so let me know. I will get better through time. But this is like my second one, so all my other videos are just watch me draws. I'm trying to do something different, so let me know in the comments what I should do better. So right now I'm gonna sketch out his hair, his curly hair, and fix the jaw. And I'm gonna add another reference. I'll also put the reference pictures that I used down in the description, the links for them. I also created a color palette, so I'll make that available too. Or you could just color pick. Anytime you do art, you just wanna break things down into different shapes. Hopefully I can break that down even more in another video. I've been having a little bit of an art block, so I just wanted to choose a character to draw, and it actually came out really nice and cute. So hopefully you'll stay to the end of the video to see that. If you have any other suggestions on what I should draw next, let me know down in the comments. I'm just finishing the eyes off for this sketch. Don't worry, we will go back over it on the next layer. Here I'm gonna draw the ears. The ears are kind of like a C shape. The top of the ear is about at the bottom of the iris. And kind of a C shape. The bottom of his ear goes about to his mouth. Instead of me trying to remember what his hair looked like, because the reference picture I picked cut off his hair, I picked another reference picture. So when you're drawing his curls, just break them down into smaller shapes. So his main curl right in the front looks like a croissant or something. Actually, his hair kind of looks like seashells. I wonder if the animators did that on purpose. Yes, take your time when you're sketching it out and doing the hair as well. I'm gonna speed this part up. Okay, I'm gonna finish up the ears on my sketch here and then finish up the eyes. The inside of his ear looks kind of like a crescent moon, so you can go ahead and do that. I had adjusted his nose a little bit on the sketch to make it a little bigger and wider, more circular. All right, so this sketch layer, you can also rename your layers if you'd like to make it easier on yourself. But this sketch layer, I changed the opacity down so I could see through it when I do the line art. For the line art, I'm gonna use the dry brush. It comes in one of the default categories under inking, actually. Dry ink brush, that's what it's called. So you can use that brush or any brush you choose to. I just like the sketchy look to it, or the illustration look to it you'll see at the end. And you'll see me color pick also. Like I said earlier in the video, I'll make a color palette. If you would like to use that, it should be down in the description box. So for this line out art layer, I chose brown. You'll see me change it later on in the video. Right now I'm just shape snapping his eyes so they could be circles. And you just draw a circle and hold down with your other finger. And you can also adjust the shape and the size and where you want it to go at the top where it says edit shape. And I'm going to do the same for the iris and pupils on each side. Throughout making this video and actually drawing it, I actually forgot I was doing a tutorial. So I was just kind of doing my own thing and not making sure. It'll be a little easier on whoever is trying to learn from this video. Please forgive me, but hopefully you could find some benefit from it. So here I'm just outlining the outside of his hair, and I just erased the top part of his head. We'll deal with that later on a different layer when we color it. So after erasing that, I'm just gonna do the outline for the bottom part of his hair. Also, keep in mind when we do color, all of the different parts of his face will kind of be on separate layers when we color them. That way, if you mess up, you won't have to erase the whole thing. So that's why layers are important to use. Because if you try to have everything on the same layer and you have to fix, let's say, the pupil part of his eye, you have to erase part of it that you already colored, and it's kind of a pain. So if you mess up something, it's just easier to delete the layer or erase one part of it. That way you won't erase other parts of his face, if that makes sense. Go ahead and take the time to adjust. This is what you see here. I'm just trying to fix it up here before we get to the coloring stage. Again, if you want, just name your layers. That way you won't get mixed up. You see me naming the layers here. I made one I also put the hairline art on a different layer, as you can see. And I labeled each of them. I'm going to put the base colors down. You'll see me speed up the video. So what I did was, on a different layer that is underneath the line art layer, I outlined for his skin color. And don't worry about getting it on the hair, because the hair will be on top of that anyway, so it'll cover it up. I'm going to outline it, and then I'll color drop it. And then when you color drop, just make sure it doesn't bleed out, and adjust the threshold, because it'll bleed all over the place. And also too, if you look close, sometimes when you do the color drop, it'll leave some kind of white outline. And it looks like you didn't color in the whole entire thing. Just make sure when you're adjusting the thresh that it covers that part of it too. And when I did it, I didn't make sure, so you'll see me cleaning it up throughout the video. Okay, I'm working on the eyes, and I did put all the different parts of the eyes on different layers. Also make sure when you color it, just make a perfect circle, because we're gonna get rid of some of the outline that you'll see on the eyes. Just make circles and use the snapping tool to make the circles for each eye and each part of the eye. And you'll see why, like when you get rid of the outline, or you can choose not to get rid of it, the eyes won't be a perfect circle. So just make sure you do that. So like I was saying before, just make sure they're all perfect circles. You see me do one of them over because it looked crazy. And I knew at this point that I was going to get rid of the outline around the eyes. So I'm doing the pupils here. Adjusting them. Color dropping them. Oops. And also to make sure the eyes are on different layers, because when we color, we'll probably do a little bit of airbrushing, and we'll put it on alpha lock so the color won't bleed out onto other parts of your image. That way it just makes it so much easier. I'm gonna color the iris now. See how his eyes, if you look closely, his eyes are kind of orange, just kind of a base color. And then around the sides of his eyes, kind of darker. So that's what I'm doing here. And I also picked a lighter orange color for the highlights as well. And here I just wanted a little bit darker on the edges of his iris. All right, for the highlights of his eyes, I just color picked the base color of his eyes and made it lighter. And I used the dry ink brush for texture. But you can use whatever brush you like. That's just my preference. And I also, when I blend it out, I also use the dry ink brush so it could have a similar texture throughout when you're blending it. And like I said before, just have the different parts of your eyes on different layers. That way when you're coloring, you can put each layer on alpha lock, then the color won't go out into other parts of the picture. I didn't actually show you exactly how to do that, but hopefully you know. You see that texture? I just really like the dry ink brush. I like how it kind of looks illustraty, if that makes any type of sense. Probably not, but one day I want to actually illustrate a real children's book. I've had an experience where someone hired me to do a few pages for them, but I don't think they actually knew how to publish a book because it didn't come out yet. But it was kind of like a freelance thing, and it was an interesting experience. Maybe I'll share that in another video. But hopefully I can actually illustrate an actual published children's book. And also, I would like to put out my own also. How many of you want to be an illustrator? It's something I've always wanted to do for a long time. But let me know down in the comments. Okay, I was babbling. I did want to show texture, so I did use a brush that was part of the All-Star pack that Procreate released. If I can find the link, this was a while ago. If I can find the link, I'll put it in the description. Hopefully I can. So for this, I'm just putting shading it like darker around his face to show a little bit of shadow. And the type of brush I used was kind of textured. And if you look at the picture of Luca, his face is it's not smooth and perfect. Just like when you look at a real person's face, it's not all smooth and perfect. So just also study the reference picture. You can see how dark his face is, like right under his hair and on the left side of his face, his right side, but our left side. And that's what I was trying to convey here. And also his face has a lot of reds in it too. So you'll probably see me adjust it a little bit throughout as I'm going through and shading it. I like to do the shadows first and the darker parts of the face first, and then the highlights are always the best part because I feel like that's what makes it mostly jump out at you. Instead of it, being a flat picture, the highlights just make it pop. So we're going to come back to adding shadows and highlights, but I did want to get his nose together. So his nose is very, very red, as you can see in the picture. So I'm going to use that textured brush I was talking about. Oh, the brush's name is called Edge 2.0. It's part of the Procreate All-Star pack I was telling you about a second ago. And it gives it a little bit of texture. You can also find different types of skin brushes on these Procreate forums. People have them out for free, or they might have them on their Patreon or Gumroad, and you just donate whatever money you can just for people making brushes that you might use. So hopefully I can get into that. Anyone make any brushes and put them up somewhere on their Gumroad and stuff? I think I'm gonna get into that soon. Okay, I'm gonna do his rosy cheeks. I'm gonna use the same Edge 2.0 brush I have been using. And that's what I will continue to use for the skin. And I'm gonna use the same brush when I use the blend tool, so it could be all cohesive. So here I just deselected the layer where I put his red, like the red color of his nose. I did deselect it, that's why you can't see it, and it was on a different layer. Like I said before, just make sure you put everything on different layers. Here I'm gonna highlight his face. I'm just gonna put it on the same skin layer. Actually, not highlight his face, but put kind of a darker shade around his eyes and defining his face more. And I'm using the Edge 2.0 brush again. And I'm just finishing off his face. And you can see the difference when I zoom in. And there's his blushy cheeks and his red nose. So on the outline layer, I did get rid of the brown circles for his nose nor his nostrils, and decided to change the color, so I put that on a different layer, by the way. If you look at the picture, the reference picture, it isn't brown, but there are, line art layers just for where you're gonna place everything. You can always adjust it. Here I'm just cleaning it up a bit. I turned down the opacity of the line layers. Later I'll end up changing the color so it could be lighter and not too harsh. So it just looked better that way to me. You can choose to do it or not. It's up to you. Alright, so now I'm gonna change the color of that line layer so it could be lighter. I don't want it to be too dark, so it can kind of blend in more. So the line layer, I changed it to that color. I alpha locked it so it won't spill all over the other parts of the picture. And I was just turning down the opacity to see how it looked, but I liked how this looked, so I kept it. Next, you'll see me get rid of the outline around the eyes, like I mentioned earlier in the video. I just felt like it looked better without it on the eyes. Yes, here could be self-explanatory. I just used the sketch brush to make the eyebrows. I used the same color as the hair. And instead, to make the process faster, I just copied the eyebrow layer and then I moved it to the other side. As you can see, just trying to save some time. Here I'm gonna color in the ears. If you look at the picture, his ears are kind of red, kind of like his skin. Cleaning it up a bit. I believe I put this on a separate layer just in case I messed it up. And here I am shading in the ears so they can pop out also. Again, for the ears, I did use, or the shading of the ears, I did use the Edge 2.0 brush that I used earlier for the skin. Next, I'm going to redo his lips. I think I'm going to use the technical brush. I did it on a layer below the line artwork, and then I deleted or erased the line art because I didn't like it on his mouth either. So I just blended it out, made it smaller to match and defined it a little bit. He just has like slits for his mouth. So here I'm just erasing the rest of the line art around his eyes. Just his iris, and then I did the pupil already. So I'm gonna finish cleaning up the image. I adjusted his eyes a little bit because I didn't like it. But so now I'm gonna go in with his hair. I'm just making strokes. I'm painting the strokes like the same direction as I want the hair to go. That way it could look right. That's what you see here. I use a lighter brown to give him highlights, and I'll use dark brown to give shadow. And I sped this part up. I'm also blended too, so. So here I'm just going to add some darker shades to his hair. As you can see here, I did speed up the video. Felt like this was pretty easy to do. Just keep going with your strokes, making sure your strokes go in the same direction you want the hair to go. I'm just adding more definition. And also I noticed that top curl part looks more flat, so I didn't use the brush strokes. I didn't put the brush strokes in the right direction, I felt like, so I wanted them to go, and that's why it looks so flat. So I ended up fixing it. They're more curved upwards. So remember to put everything on a separate layer. So since the hair is on a different layer, I am doing a little bit of shadows underneath where his hair is. And with that, I put the layer on Alpha Lock. That way it won't blend into other things on the picture. Okay, now I am using the dry ink brush. I'm gonna add some freckles. We're almost done here. Gonna add a little bit more character. I like the freckles, they're so cute. I just put it on the same layer as the skin is. Here I'm just putting a line with the dry ink brush around his eyes. Give it a bit more definition. I didn't want to get rid of the actual initial line art that I had made, so I just put this around his eyes for eyelids. Also defining his nose a bit. I'm gonna do some highlights here. He is like underneath his eyes, kind of lighter, so you'll see me do that, and also his nose, his eyes, and his nose. We did eyes first. I'm still using the dry ink brush. And I actually used the Edge 2.0 brush for the highlights under his eyes and on his nose. Next, I'm gonna make small highlights on the edge of his face. It's kind of like a rim light, I guess that's what you call it. You can choose to do this or not, but I think it gives it even more definition. So I put it around his ears and his face and under his chin, his neck. And when you do the rim light, I put it on the same layer as the skin. I put it on alpha lock too, so it wouldn't fall out of the image. So don't forget to do that, or you'll be sitting there erasing. So, oh, and I put a little bit of highlights underneath his nose too. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. If you learned anything, please like and subscribe for more videos coming soon. And don't forget to sign your name. Have a good one. Bye.